There you go. Okay, I'm here in Colorado and I'm with Dee and Mark Wanger. How's it going?
It's so great. Look at the beautiful
sunny day out.
day.
And we are looking at the latest version of their Ridekick, and it's been a really interesting ride. I've known you guys and I think seen the product at like Interbike 2012 or something, if I remember correctly.
Our first year was 2010.
Yeah,
so,
man, 2010 even. Okay, so that was my first year seeing it, but you've been around for a while, and I reviewed some of your previous units, and as I understand it, during 2014 in particular, you guys took the opportunity to sort of retool a few of the parts and improve the controller board. It sounds like there was a little bit of reliability issues. You guys serviced those for a few of the customers. You have a 1-year warranty, so I want to kind of highlight that. I got a lot of really good feedback on those other reviews. So for anyone who's interested now, we're coming into 2015, and you've been taking pre-orders, I think, for like 199 bucks for this unit. But it's actually one of the more affordable electric bike sort of solutions that I've seen out there at $699. There are a lot of different options, including what type of battery chemistry you want to get, and then how you want to style it. As you can see, this one has some fun paint on it, and there's even some lights and stuff. So who knows what we'll see in the future from you guys. But for by and large, this is really similar to those original units, and it seems like a tried and true product.
Yeah, we have done quite a bit of customer research and dealer research and found that this unit is performing very well for the people that ride it.
Awesome.
And so the information that we got back was stick with it, make it work. And so what we did was we focused on figuring out how to improve the reliability. And as you've said, the warranty is 1 year, but because of our background and who we are, we've been servicing things way past the warranty date, because if we have a problem, we take care of it forever.
Awesome. Mark, and speaking of who you are, so former Hewlett-Packard employee, I think it sounds like you've got a degree in mechanical engineering, software engineering, and electrical engineering, including studying right here at CSU, but also at MIT and UC Santa Barbara. So you've been all over the place. It's really neat to see just there's that sense of authenticity with your company. And with that said, maybe it's a good opportunity to jump in and look a little closer at the bike. Maybe you can join me over here and we can talk about the Ridekick.
Okay, let's zoom in.
Okay, so this is the Ridekick Power Trailer. Is that right?
Yes.
That's what it's called.
Well
okay.
named.
And that's called a power trailer because you're basically getting power from your trailer. It pushes the ride, and you can use it on something like this. This is a recumbent bike. This is actually a Cat Trike 700. Of course, you have aerodynamic efficiencies, and for a lot of people, this riding position is favorable. It's very stable compared to something like this. It's a more traditional upright bicycle. And the cool thing is the Ridekick works on both of these. It's independent of your gearing. It's really independent of the bike in so many ways. It makes it a little bit easier to transport. Okay, we're gonna do the official weighing here. So we've got our little travel scale. We're lifting it. Okay, we're looking at like what, 42, 43 pounds, and that's with the sealed lead acid battery that comes stock at $699 price point. Let's weigh the battery just on its own, because a lot of people, I think they might be considering getting a spare, or just having some idea of how much the battery weighs versus just the shell on this thing. Okay, so that's the sealed lead acid battery, and $125 for a spare one of those or a replacement, and we're under 20. Yeah, it's right around that 18 pounds. And then of course there's the lithium ion, and the benefit of this thing is it has higher energy density. You're gonna get more charge cycles, like about 1500 instead of 400. Weighing it, oh man, it's under 15. So what was that, like 13?
Yeah,
something like that. Very cool. So those are your options right here. You can see them right here. You talked about getting 2 sealed lead acid and putting them parallel. Can you do that with lithium iron phosphate as well?
We have customers that have bought 2 lithium iron phosphates, and
Gee
they go
whiz.
50 miles with big smiles.
That is impressive. And then one of the other things that we see occasionally, and that people ask about electric bikes with direct drive motors or something like this where there's this like chain driven, is how much drag is that going to create? How's it going to impact my coasting and my range just as a rider if the battery runs out, or if you wanted to just use this as a trailer? So if we just lift the unit and kind of roll that, yeah, you can see there's some good probably rolling momentum in the tire and stuff. It's not there is drag. Let's do the other side. But the drag seemed, yeah, it's like
it's not bearings.
You
really don't feel it when you're just coasting along. The freewheel doesn't push the motor, and the motor doesn't generate any electricity. It just gets you going.
Just gets you going. Okay, thanks for doing that test. It's nice to try to answer things visually for people. Unlike a lot of electric bike solutions where you've got a battery hanging out over the wheel, or maybe you've got the battery between your legs or something like that, and then you've got the motor inside of a wheel or maybe a mid-drive, in this case, all of that weight is really low and it's not going to impact the ride quality. It's in behind the bike, you know, and in fact, the weight is pushing down on those wheels, and that's what's giving you traction. So we're looking at this unit here. It sounds like it's gone with these tires for a couple thousand miles. This is Mark's unit that I'm looking at here. You can see there's a little bit of wear on that left tire because, of course, it's pushing, and there's a little bit more wear than happens on the other wheel. But one of the cool things is you can pop that wheel off, you can swap it, and that's pretty easy to do. These are sort of a different size of wheel. It's like 12.5 by 3-inch tires that they've got on them, but they are sort of like air-filled traditional tubes that you can replace. You can put some slime in them to sort of reduce the possibility for getting flats. And I love that they actually have this cool sort of, I don't know, how would you describe this? It's not spokes. It's got sort of an alloy interior, so you're not going to go out of true. It's going to make it a little bit more rugged and reliable, which I appreciate. So let me just back up again and kind of like present this whole idea. With the Ridekick, you can go up to about 19 miles per hour. Legal limit's 20, right? You've got a 500 watt gearless motor, and it's actually kind of, let's see, under it, kind of sticking out the side right here. You can see like right in there, there's this little black cylinder. And so it's a 500 watts, that's significant, but it's not a hub motor. It's gearless, meaning that maybe there's not as many parts moving around inside, but it's brushed. And so brushed means that there's sort of like a little stator that's directly connecting, and people ask about that a lot, and they're just kind of like, oh, isn't brushed worse or bad? Or you know, in my experience and having seen these units, many of which the team has been riding for years and years, they seem to be pretty reliable. I don't know if you want to comment really quickly, just briefly, on sort of the brushed design of these motors.
Yeah, Mark? It turns out that you can get brush or brushless motors and design them for 24, whatever voltage you want. You can get geared motors, non-geared motors, brushless motors, and you can make good ones or bad ones in any kind of those flavors. So what we've got is a very reliable, proven brush motor. The brushes are thick, they're long, they're 1 inch long as opposed to some of the shorter brushes.
Okay.
And we've run these for, I think I've torn apart motors that have gone probably about 2,500 miles and looked at the brush wear, and there's nothing.
Okay.
They are really robust, so we've never had a brush go out.
Wow.
And so yes, indeed, you can make brush motors that aren't as reliable, but these motors that we have are awesome.
Okay, and you know, I'm trying to be an independent reviewer here and stuff, but I have known these guys for a while. I've known other people who have purchased the Ridekick. It seems like it's been really reliable, including the battery. Now, of course, one of the downsides is you've got some extra wires that you've got to kind of run along your frame, but they've got these really cool Velcro ties that work great. Here's the throttle right there. It's mounted. You can mount it in a number of positions. This one's kind of for thumb pushing down. I've actually seen it where you can use your fingers on the front. It's really up to you. But compared to an e-bike kit where you're converting the bike, there's actually less wires than that, because you really only have one that's going to that throttle. So just some things to kind of keep in mind, and the fact that it is so easy to disconnect right here. Kind of got this little, I don't know what this is. It's like an 1/8 inch. It almost looks like an audio jack or something. And then you've got that kind of leash, almost like a snowboard leash. And there's a pin that you pull out. That's it. The thing is disconnected now. And you can imagine if you're at a bike rack or something and you wanted to lock it, you know, and kind of keep it out of the way so no one trips on it, and then lock it next to the bike. They've got this really cool, like, welded on ring, so you can run the bike cable right through the whole thing, and just keeps it organized too. If you're like in the garage or whatever, this is a better shot for actually showing the motor under the Ridekick. This is that 500 watt gearless brushed motor that we were talking about earlier, and you can see that there's sort of this chain that's connected to it, and it goes to this larger disc, so it sort of steps down the rotations. So you've got like high RPM going from this motor, which is more efficient, and then it's stepped down, so that bigger chain or that bigger ring is rotating a little more slowly, and that's going to give you some torque. But you can still hit that almost 20 mile per hour mark, which is really cool. So before I was talking about the batteries, this is a sealed lead acid pack. That 18 pounds, you know, it's definitely, you know, it's a little bit heavier, but it's just so convenient here with the little kind of straps, easy to lift up. You've even got a little accessory thing here. You can put your keys or something in there. And then this is the little manual on how to care for your battery. But they've just done a good job of trying to educate their customers, and then of course supporting them with that great warranty. And I wanted to mention, there's just so much to say about this system. These lights that you see, these band lights, that's sort of experimental. This Ridekick does come with one light that's sort of on the base or at the back of the unit, sort of an LED light on the inside. There we go, you can kind of see it flashing right there. So that's cool, it gives you a little bit of exposure. You can always add your own systems like we see here on the outside. But one of the cool things about the Ridekick, in addition to being pushed along, okay, in addition to having some assistance for climbing those hills or fighting that wind or whatever, is that you can actually carry stuff with it. So the standard unit that, again, it's about 40 pounds, you've got the 18-pound battery in there, that one has a capacity or a cargo hold of 75 pounds in addition to the weight of the trailer there. 75 pounds is really a lot, and whether you're using that for
that's the automatic turn-off feature so that the battery doesn't drain while you're hesitate to talk to a friend, for example.
Interesting. So that we heard some beeping, and that was an automatic turn-off feature.
Right, for two reasons. It saves battery after a while, and secondly, most importantly, it's a safety feature. If you leave your bike in the driveway and you go in, or you forget, or you're talking to someone, we don't want someone to accidentally come up and just press the throttle and then things take off. So we turn it off automatically after 15 minutes.
15 minutes, wow, we've been talking. Well, and that's another great point. So here, I want to get into this. We've got this cool little luggage combo kind of thing that you can lock this down. There's a lot of capacity inside. What did you guys say the volume was?
42 liters.
42 liters, and I mean, I've actually fit grocery bags in here and stuff before. This is a great example. You've got like a laptop bag and kind of a lunch pack and a lock and just almost like everything you can fit in there.
2 6-packs.
Yeah, we might load it up and do some testing later in terms of weight. And okay, so this is, I wouldn't recommend trying this at home. This is kind of unique. I've been, you know, like how hard can we push this thing? And we've got that same hill that I went up. This is a 30-pound cat trike, okay? And we've got maybe 150, so it's like about 300 pounds worth of riders. And let's see what the Ridekick can do. Oh my gosh, okay.
I'm not gonna help it, oh my gosh.
You're
Look
not
at that.
pedaling at all. That's all motor.
Look at that. Oh my gosh, that is crazy. Just all with the, look at that.
Throttle.
Simple throttle, I love it.
Look at that. Well, I don't want to break it or anything. And again, this isn't the most safe. It's a kind of a contained environment, right? There's no cars, and you guys are the owners of the company and stuff. So thanks for doing that.
So the trailer is recommended for 75 pounds, up to 75 pounds, but obviously we've over-engineered it.
That's good to know.
Good problem to have.
Wow. So let's just do you now, Mark, with you kind of going up this, and maybe we can see you. Oh, he's taking off. Go for it. Gun it.
Yeah, a lot easier. How fast can you run?
Cool. Mark, can you talk a little bit more about, you know, the manufacturer of the batteries that you use, the difference real quickly between the sealed lead acid, lithium ion, and then some of the modifications that you do?
Let's see, sealed lead acids are standard batteries, but it's important to get kind of a deep discharge battery. So we've gone through all the selection process and ended up with a battery that seems to be very reliable. Dee was saying that we just got an email from a customer who wants to order a second one. He's been running it since, what, 2012? And
we're in 2015 now.
And we're 2015, so
awesome.
3 years of good use, and I'm sure he's got many, many miles on it. They are very reliable. Nothing like 100-year-old technology.
Right.
Our other option is the lithium.
And more environmentally friendly, isn't that correct? Like lithium.
Yeah, they're. I think across the nation, 98% recycled. D.
68 to 70, depending on the company that's doing the recycling. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, so I think most are recycled, and then content for new batteries is like 68 to 70% recycled. And then the lithium iron was an interesting thing to learn about. There's lithium ion, which has many different flavors, and there's lithium iron phosphate.
Yeah.
And the lithium iron phosphate we chose because it's safer. You hear about and you see on YouTube and all those about flaming batteries.
Yeah.
And lithium iron phosphate is a much more stable chemistry. You can drive a nail through it and it won't turn into a flame bomb, which is great. And they're very reliable. They go probably about 1,500 charge cycles as opposed to 800 or 1,000 for some of the newer technologies.
And you aren't going to develop the memory or some of those other things as
right.
easily,
The
right?
NiCad stuff is all gone. You don't have to charge it and forget or whatever.
So who's the
thing's gone.
manufacturer of your lithium ion?
So we searched around and we have been using Elite Power Systems in Arizona, and they have a very reliable product. We get their prismatic cells, we put them together in our own packaging and do a little bit of enhancement to the BMS and a little bit more safety around it.
Cool.
And so it's a very reliable unit. Even if you short it, the battery will still be good because we put a fuse inside.
And then you guys, you offer some sort of service, so if someone does get the short, you can kind of help them.
We'll work you through it, and we've done that remotely. It's one of the things that we set up after all my experience at HP was that if you can service something in the site, and it just destroys me to think about all the e-bikes that are put in the mail to go back and get fixed. We've set this up so everything is kind of modular, and through the diagnostics and information we can get from the unit itself and also from the customer experience, we have been able to service virtually all units. I think only one unit has had to come back for a bent frame. Everything else we've been sending modules back and forth and getting the fixes going, and it's worked out very well for everybody.
It's very awesome. Also, while we're on the topic of, like, you mentioned how to care for your battery before, making sure it doesn't get too hot, too cold, and keep charging it. We talked about disconnecting it. So if you're not using your Ridekick, you can kind of unplug the battery, and if you've charged it, unplug it from the wall charger too, so you don't get that phantom draw. It's a minor thing, but just a quick point. So gosh, I feel like we've just been really comprehensive about, covering all the different how it works and how it connects to the bike and stuff. Maybe it's time to take it for a ride.
Yeah,
what do you think?
More fun.
You think we do that? So yeah, and I just love that you can kind of hook it up to just a whole broad range of bikes. If you have something that fits you, that already feels comfortable, you've already invested in the bike, for like $700, you can kind of electrify it, and then you can go from there. You can get another battery in the future to extend the range. You can switch to lithium ion if you feel like that's better. It sounds like even though you could do 2 sealed lead acids and they're roughly equivalent in terms of amp hours, that these guys were saying you still get, kind of a little bit better range with the lithium ion. And those batteries to replace or to get an additional, that's like $7.99 for the battery. You can buy one of these straight up with a lithium iron phosphate battery, and it's like $13.50, something like that. So pretty, there's some good options right from the start. Do you guys have any other accessories or things that maybe I'm missing?
One of the things that we put together is the second bike kit.
Oh, okay.
It turns out you have a Ridekick at home, and I've got one, and my spouse wants to ride it.
Ah.
Oh, what do we do? Okay, well, you can change the hitch plate, the throttle, and all that stuff. So we sell a little kit, and it's a throttle and a hitch plate. You put it on another bike, and then within 12 seconds, we can flip it from one to the other, and then Dee's off to the store to go get the goodies.
Thank you for mentioning that. So that's great. You can have one Ridekick, and what he's saying about this was the throttle we talked about earlier with the Velcro. You just Velcro it on, you run the wire along your bike. It doesn't take too long to do, but once you get it set up, you kind of want to leave it, right? And then this hitch plate, that's this little metal piece that goes right in behind your skewer and basically allows you to do that quick disconnect at the back. So how much are those? Do you guys know the?
Oh yeah, the kit is for the hitch plate and thing about
$51, $50. Yeah.
$50. Okay, so it's not too bad, and it just makes it a little bit easier to switch between the two. Are there any limitations on people who have through axles, like 15 millimeter instead of the standard skewer that we're looking at?
The 15 mil or the through axles, we've been able to bore out the hitch plate a little bit bigger for those.
Okay.
The bigger challenges we can do great on the they're called the Delta trikes.
Yeah.
With Delta, not Tadpole, right? Or
this is Tadpole
this is
with the 2
Tadpole.
wheels in the front, single wheel in the back, and yes, Delta is 2 wheels in the back, single in the front. And we have a lot of questions about can it be used with that?
Because they'd be like out to the side, sort of.
Right. So what we recommend on that is that the rider create an adapter, and then it can be central along that axle between the 2 back wheels. We have examples of probably 8 different designs that our riders have sent us.
Back at the website, right? And
Yes.
while we're on the subject, what is the website?
Ridekick.com.
Ridekick.com.
Pretty straightforward.
Ridekick.com.
Right
Yeah. Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah. So it's very interesting because we have a great community of riders where people have written in and said, here's how the adapter I created. And the most creative one I think I've seen is an antenna mount that somebody used to create a way for that central bar across the 2 wheels in the back of the Delta would clamp it on, because it's designed to clamp onto different sizes. So
well, that's good to know. Yeah,
great
and
solution.
I think, you know, I've got the forums back at Electric Bike Review, and I've seen a few people kind of comment there as well. So there's a lot of good interaction happening. Go ahead, Mark.
We've also seen one of our dealers put it on one of those little scooters with a 12-inch wheel.
Oh,
8-inch
8-inch
wheel.
wheel.
Carry
wheel.
me, yes.
Yeah, it's very cute. What is it, RBR? Yeah.
so pretty versatile. Pretty versatile. Yeah, we've been able to answer some of my questions. One of my complaints the first time I reviewed it was, you know, it's like, gosh, this sticks out at a bike rack. But hey, if you just quick disconnect it and lock it next to the bike, you're pretty good. It's a little bit wider, but if you're riding a trike like this, it's actually narrower than the trike itself. But, you know, keep that in mind if you're used to kind of a 2-wheel setup like this, and you've got a little bit more width riding behind you. They tend to be a little bit, you know, there's kind of the rattling sound like that sometimes if you hit some bumps. Just, I don't know, I really like the way that it separates the weight and kind of keeps you balanced, but there is some weight still there. You know, when you're braking, there's some more weight kind of following you. This isn't something that I would really see myself riding off-road, like on a mountain bike kind of thing, but that's not necessarily what it's really geared for. So considering the pricing options and the range and all the versatility of this, I've been pretty impressed. And, you know, but I want to call out any of the cons that I do see, and maybe one of them is like, you know, I know this isn't like the most secure lock, but it comes with it. You know, this is the kind of thing that you can easily store inside, which is going to help with that battery temperature stuff that we talked about earlier. Any other thoughts before we get on and go for it? Okay, sweet. Well, we're gonna test both of these. We're gonna do some hill climbing over here and just some weight testing. One of the things that people always comment on is, you know, oh, won't it jackknife? Like you're pushing from the side, and that just doesn't happen. You know, it works. We're gonna try and demonstrate all that. So let's go do it. Okay, so I'm on just a traditional mountain bike, a Gary Fisher. It's kind of a basic thing here. I've got the throttle all wired up. I'm gonna go ahead and just gun it. You know, this is a little bit of a downhill right here, but then I'm gonna turn around and climb a little bit. I'm gonna try to give you some sense of how it sounds and how it rides. Woo. Not bad. Just using the bicycle brakes here, not having a problem with stopping or anything. So, you know, I mentioned earlier that, you know, the Ridekick can get you up to about 19, you know, almost 20 miles per hour. One of the things you don't have with this system is like an LCD display. So it's harder to tell how much battery capacity you use. It's harder to tell how fast you're going unless you have a cycle computer like this. So, you know, there are trade-offs between something like this and a purpose-built electric bike, but you know, and sound being one of them, you can hear the whir, and you can hear a little bit more shuffling going on. There was even a little bit of tire spinning when I started because there's some loose gravel because of the snow, you know, and dirt kind of getting tracked up from over here. But by and large, I mean, it works pretty well. And now I'm going to climb that hill and stop halfway up and give a demonstration of just the power. And this is another example of like how the throttle is mounted kind of uniquely. So it's more of a squeeze instead of a thumb setup happening, which is kind of neat. There we go. This is the hill right here. Doing pretty well. We're making it. Definitely climbing, but not pedaling at all. Oh, there we go. Made it to the top. Not too bad. Wow. There's even found this kind of interesting parking like overpass thing. I'm gonna try to climb that a little bit and see how this thing turns. Let's see, so we've got a tight turn up here. Let's see if we can make it. Oh, yep, no problem. Oh, there we go. Okay, climbing time. Look at that. Still not pedaling. Another turn. There we go. No problem. Yeah. Wow. Whoa! This would be a really fun grocery getter, you know? You could see, like, look how far I've climbed. Just, you know, and really haven't had a problem with it at all. So that's kind of cool. Okay, so one of the things that I hear a lot in my comments from the last time I reviewed this bike is, won't it jackknife? And, you know, gosh, that thing, you know, people have all kinds of ideas, and I can see how they maybe, you know, it's pushing kind of with that side arm, but let's try it. Like, you're gonna turn, we're gonna make a loop here.
Powered loop.
Powered loop.
Yeah. You can see it's not jackknifing at all.
Okay.
And I can go the other way. We can do figure eight.
Yeah, let's do that, like a figure eight. Look at that, whoa.
Totally maneuverable.
Pretty good turning radius. Thank you. You know, it's fun to put these things to the test. Do you think you can make it up that ramp?
Oh yeah.
Let's do it. Hey, do you... Oh, and one of the other things before we go up the ramp, you know, earlier, I was actually, my camera was running out of batteries, and check it out. In addition to having a fuse and the charging port, the on-off switches and everything, there's a USB charger here. So I was actually able to charge my camera a little bit straight off the Ridekick, which is just, it's neat, you know? This isn't just wires like all over the place. There's actually some really cool electronic design there. And that's one of the things that they've improved, so it's, you know, even more reliable than before. So, okay, yeah, why don't you go up, try to get up there, and I'll go,
Okay,
yeah, go for it. So we're gonna try to get up this thing with the recumbent trike and the Ridekick. Again, it's kind of a cool little overpass in Fort Collins, Colorado. Wow, nice job, Mark. Look at that. Very cool. No, the Ridekick is, it's just a unique product in the world of electric bikes. Yeah, there are kits and there's purpose-built bikes and all that, but for a lot of people, especially recumbent bike riders, I think it can make a lot of sense. You know, and the price just really is phenomenal to me. And there are very few bikes or kits that are in that $700 price range that come with a good warranty, that have, you know, a really authentic team working on them. So for more pictures, specs, everything you want to know, I'll see you back at electricridereview.com.